Happy MLB rivalry weekend and happy Crosstown Classic weekend for the city of Chicago, as the Cubs and White Sox will do battle in round one of the 2026 edition on the South Side. The White Sox come off the sweep of Kansas City, putting them one game over 500 for the first time in 4 years, while the Cubs saved themselves from being embarrassed by beating the Braves last night 2-0 to salvage a game in that series. In basketball, the NBA playoffs are winding down. The second round, the conference finals starting next week. In the Stanley Cup playoffs, the Western Conference Finals will start next week, and the Eastern Conference Finals will be taking shape as well. In football, the Chicago Bears 2026 schedule is out. Who are some of your favorite social media intros for the schedule? We'll break those down, and we'll pay a special tribute to the late, great Charlie Neal. That and a whole lot more. It's a Friday fun edition of Second City Sports starts now.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Keep him on the field. And this one, a drive into left center field. Going back is Churio at the wall. Get out! Robert Jr., his fourth of the season. And the Sox take the lead 2-1.
Armstrong gets into another one. Sends Edman back. He's watching it land in the stands. What a night from Pete Crow Armstrong. Goes wide. Up the guard again. And he scores. What a play!
On Jordan Bennington. No chance at all for the Blues netminders. Connor Bedard. Wow.
Getting what a pass. Buzelis with the fade on the drive.
They're blitzing. It's picked up. Caleb throws. Middle of the field. Loveland catch. Breaks away the 30. Loveland 20. Loveland 10. Loveland end zone. Touchdown Bears.
Welcome to the Friday fun edition of Second City Sports. You're locked and loaded, and we're live in living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago. LaKeena McGee is she. Sidney Brown here. You know it's me. You can follow yours surely on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, and IG.
Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And please hype the video if you can right here on YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We're unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinion, do not 2-hour extravaganza we call a sports talk radio show. Better hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you. But you decide to troll and or do something silly, dumb, or stupid, I'll give LaKeena full powers to give you dumbos to build and be a boot.
Toodles.
But before we begin, shout out to our live game. That's LIVE, live entertainment game. That's checking us out live in the living color right now at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels at 12:21 p.m. Central Standard Time. But as always, much love to the replay game that's checking us out on the replay also at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels. Don't you ever forget our motto where we talk sports, music, or entertainment. We will always provide.
And we'll be providing you with the best here on Second City Sports on this Friday, the middle of May. Now we'll preview the Preakness. That's this weekend. Also, we'll have a PGA Championship update from just outside Philadelphia. The NFL schedule was released yesterday. Everything in its entirety. How many primetime games do the Bears have? Some of the top games. You guys looking forward to watching Bears and outside the Bears and the international schedule. All that. We'll talk about that. Other sports media news as well. The Bulls front office is taking shape. They've been very busy since getting the number 4 pick. And speaking of the NBA, while one series will try, 2 teams can wrap their series up tonight. On the flip side, though, of the Stanley Cup Playoffs, there's only one series that needs to be decided. That still needs to be decided after crazy last couple of nights of playoff hockey. and so much more. Like I said, we got a loaded show, but let's get right to it and talk, some baseball. This will be the first time the Crosstown Classic. This will actually be the first time since '08. I know they did. I know the Cubs and White Sox were both over 500 in 2020, but that was during the COVID year, so some people may not want to count that. But this will be the first time since '08 that both teams are over 500. Of course, those White Sox got there by sweeping the Royals yesterday, and also the Cubs were able to salvage a game in Atlanta. Probably should have won too, but that's a different. We'll talk about that after the break. But some of the top moments, I think, of course, the one thing that will definitely stand out in this rivalry between the Cubs and Sox is, of course, Michael Barrett punching AJ in '06. One of the most infamous moments from that particular rivalry. Julio Jimenez, Eloy Jimenez, I should say, from 2019. Eloy, of course, was a Cub, then got traded to the White Sox. Of course, Jason Benetti said, "Thanks, Cubs." Of course, the game ended up being the game-winning 2-run home run over at Wrigley. Aramis Ramirez in '08, of course. The matchup there, he hit a walk-off home run over at Wrigley in '08. Carlos Lee from '01, with the walk-off grand slam in the 10th inning at the old Comiskey Park. Of course, Kerry Wood made his final appearance as a Cub. During that series against the Sox back in 2012. So there have been a lot of great moments of rivalry in this series. Do you anticipate any type of moments, for this group of games this weekend, Sid?
Oh, of course. You have new guys that are in this rivalry. In particular, I'll start on the White Sox side. You have Sam Antonacci. He could definitely make an impact this weekend. He's been making an impact ever since he was called up a few weeks ago by the White Sox. Costa Montgomery, same thing. He wasn't part of this rivalry last year. Now he's going to be a part of it this year. And let's not forget Munetaka Murakami, the Southside Samurai. He's one of the top 3 leaders in home runs right now. I know a lot of people expect him to do damage this weekend, and with the weather seeming to be trending in the upper direction of upper 70s and lower 80s this weekend, expect a lot of runs to be scored in this series. So there's the impact players to watch for from the White Sox side of it. On the Cubs side of it, of course, Nico Horner, Dansby Swanson, Michael Bush, and Ian Happ will all lead the way for the Northside Ball Club. If you're a Sox fan, you're lucky that you're not going to face Shota Imanaga. We'll tell you what he did after the break in that Braves series. But, the Cubs are down right now. You also have an unsung hero like Moises Ballesteros making an impact this weekend. Since obviously it's been a few years, but we have a universal DH. So a lot of balls may be flying out of Sox Park this weekend, and I cannot wait for this series to get going. So, as you mentioned, we'll mention all the other moments from this Crosstown series coming up, but a lot of unsung heroes in the past that have made their marks. I think you're going to see a whole lot of that this weekend.
Yeah, I would say take the over if you're a gambling person, how much runs these 2 teams will score, because we know that sometimes the pitching can be kind of up and down this year, especially with the bullpen. So I think that's really kind of what happened. If I guess we'll go into the pitching matches real quick. Edward Cabrera against Sean Burke. That's tonight. That should be a fun matchup. Davis and Taillon versus Davis Martin. Can Davis Martin keep up what he's been doing? He has an ERA under 1.5 or something like that. So we'll see how the Cubs offense does against him. Then you got Colin Ray against Eric Fetty. That could end up being a pitcher's duel for Sunday in the rubber match. So it's going to be there over at G-Rate. So it's going to be interesting to see how both these teams, we know the Sox have been on a high. They've swept the Royals. The Cubs have been a little bit of a slump, a little mini slump. Of course, they did salvage one game against Atlanta, beating Chris Sale, former White Sox. That's probably Chris Sale on the phone right now. But yeah, so I think
Oh, it's the White Sox ticket office.
Maybe. Well, say the tickets are at a premium here, which is I didn't think you would. I think you could anticipate that. So good for both teams. I think this is how you want to see the rivalry being, having both teams over 500, coming into this. And look, it should be a fun 3-gamer.
Yes, and I'll put out this PSA right now. Fans that are attending the games this weekend, starting tonight, tomorrow, and Sunday, please behave yourselves. I saw a bunch of past fights on social media this morning. I had to turn it off. It's like I'm into the rivalry like anybody else, but If you want to go to the game and act a fool, there's no place for it. So people, please, those that attended the games this weekend, please behave yourselves. Let's have some fun. Let's be simple about it, and we can go on about our day. Now, I'll give you my top unsung moments from this Cubs Sox rivalry. When these two teams both started playing 6 games a year, 3 in each ballpark in 1999, the last game of that series in Wrigley Field. Remember, Mike Caruso, the kids can play. He had to go ahead home run late in the 7th inning, which gave the Sox the sweep at Wrigley. Of course, in 2001, you mentioned about Carlos Lee. This year's the 25th anniversary of that home run off of Courtney Duncan, that grand slam that gave the Sox a win in the opening game of that series in 2001. Of course, in 2021, the White Sox took 2 out of they won the last game of that series at Wrigley against these Chicago Cubs. Of course, in 2021, also at Wrigley, the couple weeks before, Jose Abreu hits a monster home run. And what he did the year before in the COVID year 2020, putting up monster numbers against the Chicago Cubs there. A couple other moments I'm just thinking about off the top of my head, folks. Of course, 06, I was there for that AJ Michael Barry game. I know the actual anniversary is this upcoming Wednesday. I'm sure we'll mention that again on our show on Monday. I was there for that in 07. 2008, after you mentioned about Aramis Ramirez's walk-off home run, Scott Linebrink, that still irks me even to this day. But a couple weeks, that next weekend, that next weekend at Sox Park, Carlos Quentin, Jermaine died, the late Bobby Jenkins, they helped sweep the Cubs in Sox Park. Of course, I believe it was in 2010 on Sunday Night Baseball at Wrigley when the Blackhawks won the first of 3 Stanley Cups. I think it was Gavin Floyd, and I want to say your guy Ted Lilly. Both of them were pitching no hitters, but of course the Cubs got the best the Sox in that one. So as I said at the top, we've seen unpredictable moments. Oh, here's another one. 2002, Ricky Gutierrez, former Astro, he was a member of the Cubs for a hot minute. He did a hard slide into second. I believe Ray Durham was still playing for the Sox at the time. So he got into the rivalry a little bit. Nothing else went after that. And so we see some unpredictable moments, and we witnessed some moments from unsung players and unsung heroes. Just what both teams do well this year. We can see some unsung moments from some no-name people this weekend, so from both teams. So this should be exciting. I know the city is excited finally. Like you said, the White Sox come out of nowhere, been ahead of schedule in terms of their record, but what the Cubs have done thus far and what the White Sox have done thus far, this should be a hopping weekend, and I cannot wait.
Yeah, for special TV notes here, of course, Marquee Sports Network, and for the Cubs feed, we'll have the Cubs side. And the good news is that not only will you have the CSN, but you also get be on WCIU. You get the White Sox feed. So if you're like me and you don't, I have YouTube TV, so I don't get CHSN, I should say. You can you'll be able to watch through the WCIU, the U. So you have to watch the White Sox feed, but that's okay. You'll get a chance to watch all 3 games throughout this weekend. So, of course, we'll talk about after this break. We'll talk about the on-the-field stuff. Of course, the Royals, of course, came in. They got swept by the Sox, while the Cubs were able to salvage a game. And the rest of the weekend, MLB. So, clearly, some interesting results and some interesting. Well, you know what? We'll talk about it coming up next. LaKeena McGee, City Brown, Second City Sports on Sports Chicago. More Diamond Talk coming up right after this.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms. On Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel, you can find us at Sports Zone Chicago. And on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Chi. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
Got it done here. Ouch. And we're gonna make sure you lit this time. Ouch. You're not gonna get me this time.
Ow, Manny!
Oops. Let's try an easy one.
Every day we take steps to keep the people we love safe, but some health risks are easy to miss. Ticks hiding in the yard can spread germs, like the ones that cause Lyme disease. Mice searching for food can spread bacteria that makes us sick. Mosquitoes lay eggs in standing water and can spread West Nile virus and more. Cockroaches are drawn to water in the home, leaving behind allergens that can trigger asthma attacks. Common pests can threaten our health. Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org.
Hey, this is Corey McGee, and I listen to Sean and Maya on the morning show.
Welcome back to Second City Sports, the Friday Funk Edition. You're locked and loaded, and we're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid the Kid is me, LaKeena McGee is she. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, again, the IG.
And so we continue our baseball talk, discussing both the Cubs and the Sox and the rest of Major League Baseball from this past week. You definitely hit us up right now at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions and comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up of the screen for you.
Back to the diamond, of course, we'll do on the field stuff for both the Cubs and White Sox. We'll start with the Sox first, as they swept the Royals in the 3-gamer there. Randall Grichuk, who actually played for the Royals for years, I guess, he wanted to put on a show for his former team. He had a three RBIs and a home run to cement the sweep there in that series from Wednesday. The White Sox actually came back in a couple of these games, so good for them in that sense. I know it was rocking out there over at G-Rate, so. Derek Hill, of course, hit that go-ahead home run in the 8th inning on Monday's game to get a 3. They wasted that's actually the Sox wasted a 3-1 lead, but they were able to come back and win that game. So they probably lost that game about 3 years ago and such. But look, like I said, they're above 500 for the first time in 4 years. Look, they're right there to think of it in AL Central. But again, I've been warning people that. Look, is this kind of season? Look, if I'm not saying that this is going to happen, but if the Sox, go on a slide and lose like their next 10 or whatever, I'm going to need White Sox fans to chill because look, they're well ahead of schedule. There have been a lot of great moments for the White Sox, even though Mugutaka Murakami didn't have his best series so far against the Royals. But look, you guys got Grichuk. He stepped up. Derek Hill, Edgar Carroll had a couple of hits. It's been a Tendy as well in that series. So I think folks need to I think White Sox should just enjoy the ride and just look. Like I said, don't freak out if they go into a little bit of a losing streak. I'm just saying.
Well, as I said on our last show, that this would be the toughest stretch of the season for the White Sox. I know there's some naysayers that have been pounding this team. Well, there haven't been anybody good. I went through the resume last time. I'll go through it one more time. They swept Toronto, who were runners up in the World Series last year. The out of three against the San Diego Padres. They beat Seattle 2 out of 3 games here in Chicago. And they swept the Kansas City Royals. LaKeena, how many times did the White Sox beat the Royals the last 2 years prior to this year? Barely 5 times. And they beat them 5 times already this year. Combined it was combined 5 wins against the Royals the last 2 years. They've beaten them 5 times out of 7 already. So the White Sox are making their strides there. As you mentioned, there have been unsung heroes every night. You mentioned Derek Hill, Ryan Gredchuk, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Sorry, brother. And also, too, you have Trisha Peters has been an unsung hero. Don't forget about Drew Romo, the backup catcher. Yeah, he's been having a good run with the White Sox. So he may force Edgar Carroll to go down to the minor leagues soon as Kyle Till gets back from his rehabilitation start in Charlotte in AAA. So Chris Getsko had to make a couple of quick moves there. Let's go to the starting rotation. Davis Martin, as I said, if he has a good month, you can give him serious consideration for the All-Star game. I noticed a few people have been jumping on that now. Of course, Burke, he needs to pick it up. Hopefully he can do it tonight as he opens up the series against the Cubs. Noah Schultz, I think he's one of the few blimps in that series against Kansas City. 5 walks, 3 strikeouts. That's not going to get it done, but he's a young guy. I think he's going to figure it out. He's going to be one of the aces of that White Sox starting rotation. And let's not forget Miguel Vargas. Remember this time last year, LaKeena, he was on that hot streak in May. People talked about them, the All-Star game, this and that. Of course, he went into funk for the next 2 months. His numbers are better this year than they were a year ago. So you're getting contributions from a number of different guys. Well, sometimes when your stars don't have it, your role players are able to pick it up. And let's give a quick shout out to Sam Antonacci as well. He's been doing a damn good job for the Sox, playing in the outfield in left field.
Well, it does get a little bit harder for the Sox after, of course, this 3-gamer against the Cubs. They got to go back out west on the road to Seattle. Then they face San Francisco. Then they come back home to face Minnesota and Detroit. We'll see where those teams are by then. In the last week of May. Then to begin June, they go back to Minnesota. Minnesota's been up and down this year. Philadelphia, they're starting to pick it up a little bit. Then you got to go to, then you come here to it, back here to face Atlanta and the Dodgers. That could be a kind of a tricky series there. Then, of course, you got the Yankees and Detroit to finish out this particular part of this month. So it doesn't get any easier for the White Sox. So, look, you've weathered the storm so far, but now you're going to be facing some even tougher opponents. So if you're the White Sox, you better at least try to, look, if you lose some of these games, I mean, look, I think it wouldn't be, nothing to be ashamed of. But if you do get into a run, maybe we can say there are a contender in the AL, so we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. After the 6-13 start, the White Sox are 15-8 So they're on a roll right now. They won their last 5 games. Let's see if they continue this hot streak this weekend. Just start taking series like you've been doing for the last couple weeks, and we'll see what happens. But like you said, we have a long way to go. Be proud of where they are. I'm not saying they're going to the playoffs. It's still too early, but if the White Sox can continue to get great starting pitching and great bullpen, Ryan Hudson, the left-hander wearing jersey number 60, he's been doing a damn good job. He got the save the other night, I believe it was on Tuesday against Kansas City. So he's been doing very well. If you continue to get great starting pitching, great bullpen, and timely hitting, this team can do some things, but we'll see what they can do first things first this weekend against the Chicago's North Side baseball club.
Speaking of the Cubs, they lose 2 out of 3 to Atlanta. They did win yesterday, last night I should say, to salvage a win in that series. Thanks to Ian Happ, he's starting to hit the ball better. And 5 pitchers combined for a shutout as they beat Chris Sale. They snap a 4-game losing streak there with a 2-0 win over the Braves. Probably should have won that game on Wednesday. They wasted Shota's outing there. They kind of got back into the bad habits, if you will. They left 7 on base. That's not good. You have to take advantage of with a team against Atlanta. But look, I think it's better not to be swept. So you'll take a win there. Of course, the Cubs, they're still leading the Central and the NL side because most of their teams didn't have a good week this week. So, but I think if you're the Cubs, you have to be good to where you are right now. You're 2016. You're facing your city rivals. I mean, it did. The thing is that don't get caught looking ahead, because I know you face Milwaukee after this. So, take care of business against the White Sox if you can. Then you can, anticipate with that series against Milwaukee coming up starting Monday.
This is a young veteran group. I don't think the moment will get too big for them as far as this weekend series against the White Sox. I think they can handle that. It's going, as we talked about at the top of the show, this is going to be a big crowds there. All 3 games will probably be sold out by the time we get off air here. But for what the Cubs, this stretch of baseball, what the Cubs are going through, this is just a part of a normal season. You like to see teams leave men on base consistently, not scoring any runs. No, you don't. But this is a young veteran group. They've been there before, so you trust them to get out of this. And with the team with 2 10-plus game winning streaks, I think they know a little something about winning baseball and how to get out of funk. So I think they'll be fun no matter what happens this weekend on the South Side. But we'll preview the Milwaukee series, as you said, on our next show coming up on Monday. But with this tough stretch that they're going through right now, I think it shouldn't last too long. And like you said, they've been getting great starting pitches. It's just that the offense didn't back them up. I do want to give real quick shout out to Ben Brown, as we talked about him on our last episode. We thought he was making great strides last year, but he fell off, went to the bullpen, and he wasn't on the playoff roster this year. With the injuries to top key pitchers in Justin Steele and Cade Horton, Ben Brown has answered the bell. He answered the bell again last night, pitching 4 innings, giving up 1 hit, 1 walk, no earned runs, and 7 strikeouts. That's very impressive. I think that's very important, only because if he can stay healthy and stay consistent and not fall behind hitters in counts, that's going to go a long way for this Cubs team that desperately needs healthy bodies in that starting rotation right now.
Yeah, I was very impressed when I saw that line with Brown yesterday, and just because look, those guys from Atlanta. I mean, look, you got Matt Olson, Ozzie Albies. None of those guys are. Look, those guys have been all stars. So I think the fact that he's been able to, also that whole pitching staff. I know Phil Maton, who gave up that 2-run. Gave up 2 runs, unfortunately, wasting that start by Shota, but he had a good showing yesterday, only giving up 1 hit. Palencia got the save. So I think this is sort of maybe if the pitching kind of make their strides and keep it consistent, they could be, I think that's the Cubs could be okay. So, I think if you're the Cubs, you're good. You're good where you are right now. I mean, there were a couple of series that you kind of were wasted. You could have gotten series, but look, it is what it is. As opposed to the season. After Milwaukee, they face Houston, and then, of course, to finish up the month, they got Pittsburgh for 4 games. Pittsburgh and also St. Louis as well. And it doesn't get any easier for the Cubs either. So don't get caught looking ahead to the White Sox. From the White Sox, I know anticipating for the series against Milwaukee. Try to take care of business. You can sort of build on momentum. Once you start facing these other tough teams in the division.
Yeah, you should see a different mentality from this Cubs team this weekend on the South Side. And you mentioned about the pitching. What helps what the pitching staff for the Cubs, they get some healthy bodies back. You mentioned about Phil Maton. You mentioned about Daniel Palencia, who's been back for a couple of weeks. As long as your main guys can stay healthy in that bullpen, which has been a problem at times the last couple of years because of health for this team, you should be fine. You've been getting great starting pitch. I know Edward Cabrera has been figured out a little bit in his last 2 or 3 starts, but I expect him to turn it around here soon. I know he gets to start, I believe, tonight on the South Side for the series over, if I'm not mistaken. But, as long as he turns it around, and like I said, your bullpen's starting to get back into shape via your health, this Cubs team should be fine. Now, will they win 100 games? Probably not, but they should still win between 92 and 95 games. I know they won 92 last year, but they should still win 90-plus games to take this division.
Well, speaking of pitching, they need it. They actually signed veteran and former White Sox reliever Liam Hendriks to a minor league deal. So, look, I think this is a nice, good risk, sort of a low risk, high reward. We know how good he can be. I know injuries, of course, he survived a battle with cancer. he's been, he's been out of the league the last year or so. So hopefully, maybe we can see the Liam Harris that we saw as peak with the White Sox, and then give the Cubs relief staff the relief, if you will, that they need.
You listen to Second City Sports Zone Chicago City. LaKeena here with you, talking Cubs and Sox. So let's expand into the rest of Major League Baseball. We'll start in the NL Central, LaKeena, and we'll start off with the second place team in that division. That's the Milwaukee Brewers. I should say. They took 2 out of 3 from the San Diego Padres early in the week on Wednesday. Mr. Gavin, she's former White Sox player, hit a game-time home run, which led to San Diego's 3-1 victory. The Brewers won the opener last Tuesday, 6-4, behind Jacob Misiorowski's, 10 strikeout performance in 7 innings pitched. It looked like he kind of winced in pain a little bit, didn't go out there for the 8th inning. He was taken out for precautionary reasons, but he's a second-year stud, one of the best young pitchers in baseball. And, of course, Milwaukee dominated San Diego for the series win yesterday in the series finale at home, 7-1. As we said on our last show on Monday, LaKeena, everybody thought Milwaukee struggled after they swept the White Sox to start the year. They kind of went till tailspin a little bit. Oh, this may be the end for Milwaukee, blah, blah, blah. They won't be a threat to the Cubs, especially the way Cincinnati got out to that hot start. But here they are again. Milwaukee's knocking on the door, chasing the Cubs' tails down in that division race.
Yeah, that's why I didn't proclaim that the division was over with. And also, you also got St. Louis, who took 2 out of 3 against the A's. now also breathing down your neck. So if you're the Cubs, you've got a lot of your teams are right there. Look, this is sort of like the next month. You're going to see a lot of going to see some separation with some of these teams. I know the Pirates won 2 out of 3 against Colorado. So we'll see what happens in that division. But yeah, I think that division is going to be one of the best in baseball. So we'll see what happens in that Central. Now going to the East, of course, we talked about Atlanta. We won 2 out of 3 against the Cubs. The Phillies, they won 2 out of 3 against Boston and Fenway Park. They're starting to get going. There are a couple of games under 500. And meanwhile, Mr. Kyle Schwarber, I think he just hit another home run. Actually, no, I'm kidding. He hit his 18th, which leads the Mariners' 18th homer yesterday to us to clinch that series for Philly. And that was a shore bomb too over there, the old green monster. But yeah, looks like the Phillies are starting to find their groove a little bit.
Yeah, and they survived the game last night against a former pitcher in Ranger Suarez, who pitched well for the Red Sox. But you mentioned Philadelphia's offense. We dropped the names in years past. You got Adolis Garcia now from the Texas Rangers. You mentioned Schwarber. Bryce Harper's quietly having a good year as well. So everything's starting to come around for Philadelphia. Of course, you have JT Realmuto, Trey Turner, and some of the other folks over there. They're a young veteran group in that lineup. So Don Manley is getting the most out of his guys right now. As we always say, especially in baseball, give it more than 2 weeks. When you fire your manager, get a new manager in there. Of course, the players want to prove that it wasn't their fault that the old manager got fired. But Philadelphia, powered by their offense, is starting to turn around, and they quietly getting some great starting pitchers as well. Zach Wheeler returned over the weekend in his last start. He was very impressive. He didn't pitch in the Boston series, but he was very impressive in his last start. So if you get him back, you got him back, and now Christopher Sanchez has been the star of your rotation all year. That great starting pitcher for Philadelphia starts to come around to complement the offense. They can challenge Atlanta for that NL East crown.
Yeah, definitely. Gotta make some strides and hopefully sweep some series. I think they do play Atlanta coming up, so yeah, maybe they can gain some ground. The Nats win 2 out of 3 against Cincy. So the Nats, Alex, I don't know how long they're going to be around, but they've been playing well so far. Miami, falling back to earth a little bit, they lose 2 out of 3, at Minnesota. The Mets, I mean, could it be that maybe they're starting to find their groove too? They swept the Tigers, and I do wonder though they're starting to hit the ball a little bit better. The pitch has been really good, so they actually hit 5 home runs on Wednesday. So could they perhaps maybe they're starting to find their groove? We'll see. But Juan Soto, of course, I know he got nicked up in that series. Doesn't look like he won't need an IL stint. We'll keep an eye on that for y'all. But it looks like the Mets are starting to kind of find a groove a little bit as well.
Yeah, they need to continue to do that. We talked about their starting pitching, not getting up to a hot start. Freddie Peralta has had his issues. Peterson has had his issues as well. Their bullpen has been terrible, but you mentioned about the offense carrying them right now. They had a successful West Coast road trip, and now they took care of business. You mentioned by sweeping the injured Detroit Tigers. Let's see if they can keep it up. They have a big series this weekend against the New York Yankees, who've been the best team in baseball, in my opinion. I know they went through their struggles here over the last week or so. But for the New York Mets, they just got to be consistent and get back on track with their starting pitching. And like you said, the offense has been hot lately. So we'll see what happens this weekend as they'll face the New York Yankees in the Subway Series.
Yeah, let's review those series for this weekend coming up. Now, the Dodgers, they've been up and down. They did split their series, their 4-gamer against the Giants. Although shout out to Ice Cube and Mike Epps for having a mini reunion from the Friday movies. If you guys know what we're talking about.
Yes.
On Tuesday, unfortunately, though, they lost that game. He Shota did break out of his slump. He had a home run there, but they lost that game. But they did win the next two, so they did split their series with the Giants. Looks like guys are starting to get back for the Dodgers. That's really been their problem there the last couple weeks, but it looks like they're starting to find their stride. So we'll see if I think the Dodgers winning 3 in a row is hard. Not that many teams have done it. So I'm thinking that maybe the Dodgers, I think they are starting to figure things out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and plus they've been they had some of their key guys injured to start the year. Blake Snell, Mookie Betts, both those guys are starting to came back into the lineup. You mentioned about the Giants. I think this series was more important for them than the Dodgers. The Dodgers, as you mentioned, going for 3 in a row. This is a veteran group. They've been there before. We talked about this same scenario with them last year, and you saw what they did. So I know you always have irrational fans with any team, but I think many Dodgers fans understand this is it's all about October, getting through the season, getting through this season healthy. As we said last year, get through the season healthy so you come ready for October, you'll be ready to go. So this is the same scenario in a sense this year. So I know Yamamoto has been up and down this year. Roki Sasaki, who saved them in the bullpen last year in the playoffs, he's been struggling as a starter, and you paid him all that money. He has to have some things worked out, but this Dodgers team, they know they've been there before. They know what's going on. David Roberts has a pulse of that clubhouse, obviously, and so they're going to come out of this. And what the interesting thing about it is, I know you're going to break down these other teams in a minute in their division. San Diego has not taken off. We know Colorado, even though they're technically better than a year ago, they still stink. Arizona's average at best, and the division is still there to be had. So with the Dodgers struggling, quote unquote struggling, they can afford to do it because the other teams have not taken off yet and run away with it. So if you're the Dodgers, I'm not going to say you're coasting here, but you can afford to figure these out while the other teams in the division are not taking advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean, of course, we talked about the Brewers lose 2 out of 3. Brewers beat the Padres 2 out of 3. The D-backs, they lose 2 out of 3 to Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And also, of course, we talked about Colorado.
There you go.
Colorado's not going to be a factor. So losing 2 out of 3, I should say, to the Pirates. So yeah, no one's really been kind of breathing down their neck. So I know that the Padres are a half game back, but even still, I mean, they've been up and down as well. Excuse me. So I think if you're the Dodgers, yeah, you're kind of like, okay, well, hey, you don't want to make it. If you're Dave Roberts, you don't want to make it a habit, but at least for right now, you kind of want to. This is the kind of time where you want to, try to kick it into gear, if you will. So, yeah, I mean, looking at the standings right now, I think if you're the Dodgers, you're thinking, okay, this is probably where, okay, you're good with where you are right now.
Yeah. And like I said, they can afford to take their time with getting some of their guys back and go through extended slumps, because the other teams, as we mentioned, have not taken that lead from the Dodgers in the NL West. You listen to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. LaKeena here with you, talking baseball. You have any Cubs or Sox comments as well? Jump in the chat at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you. Continuing with the AOS, LaKeena, as I said, it's not going to be a good year for the Houston Astros. They lose 3 out of 4 to your Seattle Mariners. It looks like the Mariners are starting to get back on track. You mentioned about the Texas Rangers, the rematch of the 2023 World Series. They take 2 out of 3. from the Arizona Diamondbacks. And you mentioned about the, as we call them on this show, the Oakland Athletics, who play in Sacramento, or they're currently playing in Sacramento. They lose 2 out of 3 at home to the St. Louis Cardinals this week. As I said on Monday's show, and I'll say it here, a team that gets on a nice long streak, I think is going to control this division going forward.
Yeah, it
It looks like
really
Seattle's
is.
starting to finally get their act together.
Yeah, I think their pitcher's been really solid. Logan Gilbert pitched another gem a couple of days ago. The bats are starting to get hot. Luke Raleigh, he hit a 3-run home run. That helped. The Mariners clinch that series. So yeah, I think they are starting to kind of find their groove. It's sort of like one of those, who wants to win this division? I think that's really what's going on right now in the AL West. So yeah, we'll see if Seattle, Texas could definitely be right there too. So especially after beating the Cubs earlier late last weekend. So we'll see what happens there. Now, as far as the Central is concerned, the Guardians, they sweep the Angels, the bad part of that. Cleveland, we talked about the Tigers. It looks like Tariq Skubal could be back within a few weeks. I know he's been throwing. He's been doing throwing sessions, so he could be back in a couple of weeks. We'll see. They really definitely need him if they want to at least be right there to think of it in the AL Central. The Twins, they beat the Marlins 2 out of 3. So yeah, look, this division, like I said, I don't know if it shows you how bad or good the division is, but at least everybody, even the Royals, I know they got swept by the Sox, but even the Royals are all within striking distance.
Yeah, it's a mediocre division at best. You mentioned about all the teams that are struggling in the AL Central, with the exception of the White Sox and the Guardians. Detroit has injuries. We mentioned by KC. We saw what happened against the White Sox. Their offense has been hot and cold. They have the pitching. I'm talking about the Royals, but their offense has been hot and cold. And like we said, just like we said about the AL West, whichever team gets the hottest in this AL Central is going to take control of it for the foreseeable future. Cleveland, I still believe, even though both of us picked Detroit to win the division before the start of the season, even though Cleveland's playing well right now, they're the best team in the division. I still don't believe they're going to take off and run away with this thing. You have to beat up on each other as far as the other teams in the division. I know that you're getting great hitting from veteran Jose Ramirez. Chase DeLauder, the rookie right fielder for the Guardians, he's having a very good year. So Cleveland always been getting it done by starting pitching, great bullpen, and timely hitting. That will take you a long way, but we all, as well as I do, unfortunately, they don't have the big budget like some of the big market prove like they really want to, but they're playing a very good, fundamentally sound baseball right now.
Yeah, you can never count out the Guardians, as we saw last year, and they're coming back all the way back to beat Detroit in that division. In the AL East, the Rays, they beat the Blue Jays 2 out of 3. The Yankees are still struggling. They lose 2 out of 3 to Baltimore. And like I said, I told you about my buddy Jay. He's a Bronx guy. He's a big Yankees fan. He's starting to freak out a little bit. And I think that they need to be figured out. The pitch needs to be figured out, and so does the hitting. So they play the Mets this weekend. Look, I know they're coming out of being sweeping a team, but I think if you're the Yankees, this is a good way to try to right the ship.
Yeah, we talked about the starting pitcher being up and down this year. Garrett Cole's supposed to be back soon. You just got Carlos Rodon back. You saw what he did in his last start against Milwaukee over the weekend. Even though that was part of a series, a sweep for the Milwaukee Brewers. The Yankees defense has not been good. I know Anthony Volpe had a couple of bad plays in their last game against Baltimore in that series. We know that what you're going to get from Aaron Judge if he stays healthy. Ben Rice has been that dude at first base all year. And Trent Grisham, who they re-signed in the offseason, has been very good in the outfield. So, and we know about what Jazz Chisholm can do. He's had his moments with the umpires here and there so far this year as well. So this Yankees team has been there, done that before. It's just them getting over the hump in the playoffs. So, but this weekend series against the Mets I think it's more important for them just to get back on track and gain that confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see what happens there. Now we're up against, so we got to get right to the schedule here for this weekend. And MLB, the Battle of the Keystone, say the Commonwealth. Philadelphia against Pittsburgh at 5:40 to kick off that in-state rival. Toronto and Detroit, the first game of that series will be on Apple TV Plus. The battle of the DMV as Baltimore and Washington they face each other. Battle of Ohio between Cincinnati and Cleveland. Noticing a theme here, folks. Miami and Tampa Bay, Milwaukee and Minnesota, Boston and Atlanta. And the first game of that Subway Series between the Yankees and the Mets is going to be on Apple TV.
The rest of your schedule for this weekend looks like this for MLB rivalry weekend. The Crosstown Series will take place on the south side as the Cubs battle the White Sox. Texas will face Houston in the Battle of Texas. Kansas City and St. Louis, the rematch of the '85 World Series, will take place in St. Louis at New Busch Stadium starting tonight. Arizona will face Colorado. The battle of it's not the Beltway Series. It's the Battle of Orange County. Whatever the hell they call it. The Anaheim Angels versus the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Angels always do well in Anaheim against LA. I think they won all 6 games against the Dodgers last year. Not to be people talk about that, but they get it on tonight. San Diego gets your Mariners, and San Francisco in the Oakland Athletics from Sacramento. They're still going to be the Bay Area series, in my opinion. They also will do battle tonight.
All right, your national TV games for this weekend. Your FS1 game of the week on tomorrow will be Baltimore and the Nationals. Your Fox regional action, I'm guessing most of the country will get the Yankees and Mets, and also the rest of those who are out west will get San Diego and Seattle. Your Peacock games will be Miami and Tampa Bay. That's at 11:15 a.m. Notice the start time there. Jeff Nelson and Kevin Franco will join Matt Batscourge on the call for that game in Miami and Tampa. Also, of course, the game that JP, former White Sox pitcher, will be a part of this of the game on Peacock at 5 o'clock. Will be San Diego and Seattle to finish up that series, and that is scheduled for this weekend in MLB.
Hour number 1 is in the books. Hour number 2's books will open up following these messages right here on Second City Sports Zone, Sports Zone Chicago. When we return, the Bears' schedule was released, and I think the league wants them to do well again, and we'll give you the national schedule for the other major networks as well for this upcoming 2026 NFL season. The basketball NBA playoffs, we have the Stanley Cup Playoffs to discuss, and we'll pay a special tribute to the late, great Charlie Neal. I'm Sid. That's LaKeena. You're listening to Sports Zone Chicago.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms, on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
How do you take care of your mind health?
For my mental health, I meditate in the mornings.
I have my dogs. They're the best.
I just find ways that help me just relax.
Finding things that make me happy, like being close to my family.
I meditate a lot and read books.
I have hobbies outside of the game. I'm able to switch off. I'm able to turn my brain off from the game of basketball.
Your mind health matters.
Your mind health matters.
It's a romance sport. What? It's a romance sport like that.
Your Marine Corps' way of life is to defend the American way of life. every day. No matter where we serve, we take a stand for our nation, for each other, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Every body in a work zone is someone somebody.
This is my mom. She works for KDOT.
This is my dad.
This is my mom.
This is my daddy.
This is my sister.
This is my daddy.
This is my son, Scott. He was killed while working in a highway work zone. When you drive through a work zone, drive like a life depends on it. Because it does.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports Friday Fun Edition. You're locked and loaded, and we're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid the Kid is me. LaKeena McGee is she. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, that's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. You're muted, LaKeena.
My bad, folks. You can follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, again, the IG. Oh, Jesus.
As we kick off number 2, discussing the NFL schedule and the Chicago Bears 2026 schedule as well, you definitely hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you.
All right. There was a lot of leaks. There was a lot of guessing, a lot of anticipation. Well, you know what? We finally got answers, all the answers that we needed yesterday. And of course, Roma Duze, shout out to him with the painting, the little painter, with doing a parody there. For those of you who are our age, you know what we're talking about with that one. But yeah, all the ones are actually really good. I know Sid didn't get a chance to watch a lot of them, but we'll break that one down coming up. The Bob Ross thing Payne you got there, that was probably one of the tops there. Roma actually has the hair to do that. So rest in peace. Continue rest in peace, Mr. Bob Ross. But of course, yes. That scheduling. Of course, the Bears. They've got 7 primetime games. They're playing on Christmas. They're playing on Thanksgiving against Detroit. They've got a couple of Monday night. They got a Monday night game. They got, well, let's break this down a little bit here. So if I can just get that, I got the schedule up here, but my thing went out for a second. But they do open against Carolina.
Go ahead.
No, I said they do open against Carolina. I know folks were anticipating that it was going to be against Seattle. But no, they're playing Carolina, a team that won the NFC South last year.
Week 2, the Chicago Bears will open up at home against the Minnesota Vikings. They'll be at high noon on Fox Monday, September 28th. The second home game of that 3-game home game stretch will be against the Philadelphia Eagles. They'll be on ESPN and ABC at 7:15. Sunday, October 4th, 3 days before my birthday, but I digress. They'll host the New York Jets and Geno Smith or somebody else in company. That's at high noon on Fox. Sunday, October 11th. They'll face the Green Bay Packers in America's Game of the Week. Tom Brady and crew. That's at 3:25 on Fox. Sunday, October 18th at Atlanta against the Falcons. That's at high noon on Fox. Thursday, October 22nd, 4 days later, home against the New England Patriots. The defending AFC champs. That's at 7:15 on Prime Video, and I assume locally here in Chicago on Fox 32. And of course, Monday, November 2nd. At Seattle at 7:15 on ESPN. That's Monday Night Football. No ABC broadcast, unfortunately, for that one. Sunday, November 8th against Tampa Bay. That's at 7:20 p.m. on NBC for Sunday Night Football. And, of course, week number 10 is their bye week.
And after that, they face New Orleans. That'll be on Fox. Of course, we could talk about the Thanksgiving game against Detroit. So after Detroit, of course, they swept them last year. I know a lot of Bears fans are kind of equally anticipating that one. So yeah, that was pretty funny there. Week 13 against Jacksonville, and they got to go on the road for week 14 and 15 as they face Miami and Buffalo. On Christmas Day on Netflix, you got of course the Bears hosting Green Bay. These last 2 games are to be determined, but the Detroit and they gotta go at Minnesota to finish up the season. Those 2 games have not been officially scheduled yet, but the Bears will be showcased, of course, at 4:25 on January 3rd, I should say, for that Detroit game on January 3rd, and also January 10th at 1 Eastern time. That could be flexed out a little bit depending on how it's all set up. Jacksonville will be a noon game, so will Miami. The Saturday night game against the Buffalo game is a Saturday night game on December 19th, of course. Was your Green Bay on Christmas Day, Detroit, of course, and also Minnesota, of course, to finish of the season. That could be flexed out with the time. We'll see, but this is a harder schedule now. They don't have to travel much. They're among the lowest. They have to travel the fewest miles in the NFL, if you guys believe in that stat. And this is actually the hardest schedule, if you will. They got to play the NFC South, and they got to play the AFC East. So does it get any easier for the Bears? Philadelphia. I mean, they're gonna want to get back from that Black Friday game last Philadelphia. That's a Monday night game against, of course, the Bears at Soldier Field. So they could be 3-1 going into the bye. Maybe not. I don't. Coming into that Green Bay game. Maybe not. Who knows? But it's sort of one of those days where you really can't make any proclamation. I know some people say, "Oh, they're going to be 11 and going to be 12 and 5 or something like that." You really can't do that in this, anticipating this, because a lot can happen. But yeah, I know that I think the sub is that they want the Bears to do very well top of the NFL, but this is a murderer's row schedule, in my opinion.
Yeah, and looking at the breakdown, the schedule the bye week is at week 10, right in the middle of November, because as you mentioned, their toughest stretch of the season will start in the month of December. After you finish with New Orleans at home, of course, at Detroit on Thanksgiving, the month of December will tell the signs of where this team is going. As we always say on the show, we don't give our predictions until the weekend of the opening weekend of the regular season, like it can happen between training camp, injuries, position battles, things along that line. So if you're looking for us to give our predictions today, it's not happening. You got to wait a few months. But back to the schedule. The toughest part of the schedule for the Bears is that second half of the schedule, in particular the month of December, as you mentioned. You start off Sunday, December 6th against Jacksonville. That should be a win. It's going to be cold. It may or may not be snowing, but it's definitely going to be cold. Then you go to Miami and Buffalo within that 6-day stretch. That Sunday, December 13th at Miami. Of course, 6 days later at Buffalo in their new crib for a special Saturday night edition on CBS. And then, of course, you turn around 5 days later on that Friday on Christmas Day. You play against Green Bay at high noon. So the Bears, between December 13th and December 25th, 3 games in a 14-day stretch. That's going to be tough. They kind of faced that same scenario last year, and they came out of it okay. But for this season, remember, they did that last year in November. This time they're going to do that stretch in the middle of December in the latter part of the year. So that's going to be a tall tale sign for this team right there. And then, of course, you mentioned about the last 2 regular season games. Sunday, January 3rd, the home finale, the regular season home finale against Detroit at 3:25, and of course at Minnesota to finish up the year. The first half the back half of that schedule is going to be tough for Chicago. In the first half of that schedule, with the exception of the Seattle game and the Philadelphia game, the Bears better stack up wins in the first half of the year, because if they have if their injury situation is worse than it was last year, half of the year is definitely going to be tough. But regardless of those factors, you better stack your wins before the bye week in this first half of the schedule early.
Yeah, because like I said, you never know how these teams are going to be. So the teams that you thought that would be hard, it turns out you beat them pretty easily, and vice versa. So the NFL is always weird that way. So we're interested to see. Like I said, we're not going to do our predictions like Sid said. Of course, you're going to have to wait till about August or early September. But yeah, we're going to be talking about the schedule throughout these next few months. Now, the regular season kickoff. A lot of people thought it was going to be the Bears in Seattle. Well, it's going to be a rematch of this past Super Bowl, New England and Seattle. That's going to be on Wednesday, September 9th on NBC and Peacock. This is NFL kickoff presented by YouTube TV. I'm a little bit surprised that they went this route, considering the fact that the Super Bowl wasn't exactly one for the record books, and especially with all this stuff happening, off the field. If Google's your friend with Coach Vrabel, but yeah, I mean, I guess that's why they wanted to do the anticipation there. But I guess we'll see. I mean, there've been some changes there with both teams. Of course, Caleb Walker the third is in Kansas City now. We'll talk about that matchup coming up here, but. I guess this is not a bad thing, I guess, basing this one, but, we'll see what happens September 9th.
Let's be real here. I think part of it is because of that Mike Vrabel factor. We won't get into what happened between him and Diane Racine, like you said, Google said, and I think that's part of it, but that the NFL doesn't want to say that part out loud. But I know people are going to be excited for football, and people are going to watch because it's the first game of the regular season. But really, LaKeena, even though we gave New England that props last year for going 14-3 with their claiming going to their TVs and their tablets to watch New England. No, Tom Brady isn't there. He's broadcasting now. If you're not a New England fan, you're not going to rush the TV to see them. You're just not. That's why I thought the NFL dropped the ball right here. It should have been the Bears in Seattle because let's be honest here. We talk about the Cowboys. We talk about the Packers. We talk about the Steelers being nationwide teams. The Bears are a nationwide team, especially when they go. We saw that last year. The Bears would have drawn non-casual football fans to opening night. New England doesn't do that anymore. Tom Brady isn't there. They don't have the same aura and presence there. Of course, Bill Belichick, or Bill Belichick, as we call him on this show, is not there anymore. So the NFL dropped the ball right here. I think this is their arrogance figuring that, because it's football, people are going to watch. Yes, that's true. But if you want more fans to watch the opening game of the season, you should have picked the Bears.
Well, speaking of the Patriots, Tom Brady, he'll make his return to England for the first time since becoming a broadcaster, November 8th, week 9, as the Packers go to Foxborough to take on the Patriots. That'll be America's game of the week there. So a little bit of a homecoming there for Mr. Brady out there in Foxborough. So we'll see, how that, shakes out. Now, in addition to the Bears and the Packers playing on Christmas, Denver and Buffalo, that'll be on Christmas as well. That'll be the afternoon game after that Bears Packers game, and the nightcap will be on Fox. Will be the Rams and Seattle, a rematch of the NFC title game. Of course, NFC East, also NFC West, I should say, rivals there. Now, Thanksgiving also, the Bears are involved with that one against the Lions. That'll be on CBS. The middle game, the afternoon game, will be the Eagles and the Cowboys on Fox. And of course, the nightcap will be on NBC and Peacock once again. The Chiefs and the Bills. I know Jim Nantz from CBS said that they were a little he wasn't shy that they were a little surprised that the NFL sent that game because it's been the last 5 or 6 years it's been on CBS. Now it's going to be on NBC as part of the Thanksgiving Day triple header. But again, I guess the NFL wants to open it up, all the games up as openly as possible. So we'll see what happens on that one.
The Christmas Day schedule, that it's a triple header again this year, LaKeena. But unlike last year, you have better matchups, and you know what they're saying to the NBA? Kick rocks.
Yeah, I know. I think that's how Adam Silver probably feels about that one. Oh God, he doesn't want to choke, but that was very good there. Now your Black Friday.
Yeah, because remember the NBA has games on all day.
Yes.
Yeah, the NBA has games all day on Christmas, and the NFL has stretched it out because remember the game. You said the Bears and the Packers start off at noon, right? Mm-hmm. So you're going to get an hour of NBA, which starts at 11 a.m. our time, and then when football picks up at noon, you're going to have football from 12 noon Chicago time to about 10:15, 10:30 our time, and the NBA goes all day with 5 games from 11 in the morning to about, I think, 11:30 midnight. The NFL is going to get a huge chunk of that audience during the daytime in the early prime time hours. So, with the better selection of games this year, unlike in previous years, the NFL is definitely going to win hands down on this one.
Now you're kicking it with the holiday theme. Your Black Friday game will be in Pittsburgh this year as they host Denver. Whether with or without Aaron Rodgers, that'll be on November 27th. That'll be on Prime. So yeah, and also some of your prime, like we won't go all the games because we have time, real time limited, but just some of the games from your prime video matchups. Detroit and Buffalo for week 2. That should be a fun one on September 17th. Tampa Bay
That's Buffalo's home opener.
Yep, the new stadium too. Don't forget Highmark Stadium. Pittsburgh and Cleveland October 1st. October 8th, you got the Bucks and the Cowboys. Seattle and Denver, October 15th. Of course, the Bears, as Sid said, the Bears will host the Patriots October 22nd. Packers hosting the Panthers. The Jags against Baltimore November 5th. That's week 9. Denver and Pittsburgh. Of course, we talked about that, the Black Friday game. Indy against Houston, November 19th. The Rams hosting the Chiefs on December 3rd. A good one. San Francisco against the Chargers, December 17th. Your Christmas Eve game on the 24th will be Houston and Philadelphia. And to cap it off on New Year's Eve, your football game there is Baltimore and the Bengals. We'll see if there's going to be, could be for the division, AFC North. We'll see. But yeah, some interesting matches for the prime matchups for Thursday night.
And they're taking advantage of those holiday games as well. Of course, Christmas and New Year's Day falls on Fridays this year. Of course, Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve both fall on Thursdays this year. So, nice job at the NFL scheduling, but maybe that's the scheduling department from the NFL calling you right now. But don't you get the feeling that the NFL is trying to play at least one game every day of the week? Here's the problem. College football, this well better than I do. Like, don't they have about at least 150 schools in Division 1A so they can get away with that? The NFL can't get away with that. So, so the old question is being asked, and I'll ask you here: what's happening to our Sundays?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of those days where you're kind of anticipating that, it used to be like, okay, you get a Monday night game, you make it a Thursday night game here and there. Now it seems like the NFL wants to do like every single day. You got a couple Wednesday games, you got Sunday, of course, you got Thursday games, you got some Saturday games late in the year. So it seems like there's nothing wrong with oversaturating. There might be something wrong with oversaturating, the NFL. Because I'm probably not going after Friday Night Lights. That don't give them any ideas. Of course, the folks in Texas aren't going to be very happy unless you get Dallas or Houston in there. But yeah, it seems like I think they did a nice job with the scheduling. So we'll go through the games down the road. Your Monday night games. Of course, the Bears will be the third Monday night game against as they host Philly, and also of course the Sunday nighter as well. They get week 9 against Tampa. There's some good matchups there. Week 7 for Sunday night football, October 25th. Kansas City and Seattle. That should be a fun one. Mahomes, should be back by will already be back by then. But yeah, so some of these games you're kind of scratching your heads. And also the international games, Sid. You got games in Australia with the 49ers and the Rams. You got the game in Rio, Baltimore, and Dallas. I mentioned that one. Of course, you got your London games. Indy and Washington, Philadelphia and Jacksonville. That's week 11. October 11th, I should say. October 18th, you got Houston and Jacksonville at Wembley. Pittsburgh, New Orleans. That's going to be in Paris, in the Stade de France. October 25th, week 7. Of course, Cincinnati and Atlanta. A lot of people thought that was going to be the game that the Bears would get. Of course, since he gets that honor, they'll go to Madrid. The Patriots and the Lions, I'll be in Munich, Germany. And of course, Minnesota and San Francisco and Mexico City. So I guess they're going to try to go international too. So it's sort of weird all this is sort of shaping out for the NFL, but who knows? But we're going to keep watching, so I guess.
Yeah, I didn't want to jump the gun, but I noticed Kansas City's getting a few primetime games in the first 2 months of the year, including the Monday night opener against Denver. Do they, as I said during the off season, do they know something that we don't? Do they think that Patrick Mahomes may return by then? I know they traded for Justin Fields earlier this offseason, but I know he doesn't jump on Justin Fields. Obviously, he doesn't move the needle nowhere close than Patrick Mahomes. But do they think that Patrick Mahomes may make his return at the end of September or early October? Do they know something that we don't? Things that make you go, Shout out on Sidney, all.
Yes.
Is he music favorite for stealing that phrase?
Well, yeah, and also, also like you said, of course, we know Bo Nix should be back by then. Of course, he's recovered from his own foot injury. So I guess they're anticipating that that Mahomes could be back by then. They better hope it is, because if not, you probably see it Justin Fields against Bo Nix. I don't know if that'll. Maybe if they were still in college, I would have moved the needle, but maybe not now. But I guess that's what they're anticipating. We'll see.
Right.
But I think they're just guessing at this point. But who knows?
All right, you listen to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. The city of LaKeena here with you. Our sports potpourri segment will be up next following these messages. When we return, we got to break down both the NHL and the NBA playoffs. Some breaking news from the White Sox that I'm looking at on Twitter right now, or Twitter X. I'll try to get that confirmed and related to you guys doing our sports potpourri segment. And LaKeena will have our PGA Tour golf update, and we'll pay special tribute to the late, great Charlie Neal. That and a whole lot more as you're listening to Second City Sports. I'm Sid. That's LaKeena on Sports Zone Chicago.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms, on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
Got it done here. Ouch! And we're gonna make sure you lit this time. Ouch! You're not gonna get me this time.
Ow, Manny!
Whoops! Let's try an easy one.
Every day, we take steps to keep the people we love safe, but some health risks are easy to miss. Ticks hiding in the yard can spread germs, like the ones that cause Lyme disease. Mice searching for food can spread bacteria that makes us sick. Mosquitoes lay eggs in standing water and can spread West Nile virus and more. Cockroaches are drawn to water in the home, leaving behind allergens that can trigger asthma attacks. Common pests can threaten our health. Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org.
Hey, this is Corey McGee, and I listen to Sean and Maya on the morning show.
Welcome back to Second City Sports, to the hashtag Friday Fun edition. You're locked and loaded, and we're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. See it, the kid is me. LaKeena McGee is she. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, and yours again at IG.
This is our sports potpourri segment. So, if you have any last minute questions or comments for us, or any of the topics we discussed thus far on today's show, you better hit us up, not now, but right now in our last segment of the show for today, as the up on the screen for you.
Let's call an audible here, Sid, because I want to get your thoughts on the Bulls' new front office. Starting to take shape. Of course, the Bulls made a couple of hires on yesterday, I should say. AC Law, of course, who Brooklyn Nets scout and other places he's been. He actually was a Bull at one point. He had a couple coffee with the Bulls. Of course, he was a highly touted standout, a two-time All Big 12 and a second-team All-American when he was at Texas A&M. Back when Texas A&M was in the Big 12, but he's been a scout for many years, of course, and he's one of those guys that is very mindful of
I thought he was with Iowa back in the day.
Huh?
I thought he was with Iowa back in the day. I'm talking about AC Law.
No, he was at A&M.
Okay.
Yeah,
we'll go to the Google machine, but regardless, that name brings back up my childhood in the '90s. So
AC Earl. No, AC Earl. You're thinking of AC Earl.
AC Earl. Okay.
AC Earl. That's what you're thinking of. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's what you're thinking of. It's wrong.
Okay.
AC. Yeah.
But
AC
still,
Earl.
I stand corrected. But still, it brings me back to my. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I stand corrected, so I apologize, but still, all these names that we've seen as assistant coaches and scouts, we're getting on. That's what I'm getting ready to say. So I'm sorry for interrupting you. Go ahead and finish.
No, you're fine. But I mean, he like I said, he was a scout for player personnel and has been doing it for a long, last few years. He was just at with Brooklyn, so he's he's going to be a VP of the player personnel, also Stephen Mervis. No, not Matt Mervis, not the Matt Mervis, but Stephen Mervis, although they're related. But he was with Orlando as assistant GM for many years. He's going to be the senior VP of basketball operations. So looks like the Bryson Graham is starting to put up together a nice little front office staff here.
Yeah, as we talked about on the show, I want a guy with experience, but the way this front office is shaping, you need people that are in tune to what's going on with the NBA today, and you need to have some diversified opinions, some diversified minds, and that's what Mr. Bryce Graham is doing. I love it personally. I know these are new people are getting a chance to getting a chance to grow their branch. Like it personally now. Well, it looks like Bryson Graham, as we talked about in this press conference over a week and a half ago, that looks like he has a vision. He has a mission statement that he wants to fulfill, and he's determined to do it. So you have to have some younger folks in there and some new minds and some new ideas. So actually, I don't think it's a bad thing. But here's the thing: with all these new people, including Mr. Bryson Graham. You're in Chicago. You're the number 3 market. A lot of things are expected for you. And yes, we talked about this on the show last week that, Bryson Graham wasn't shy to say the word rebuild. Yes, this is a rebuild. And he said, we're not going to get better overnight. This will take time. But, to have new voices in there and have, I don't think it's going to be as bad as we think. But, this is going to be a
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see because remember they don't have a GM yet, so I'm sure Bryson Graham is going to want to have somebody there within the next week. They're probably going to want to have all these guys in place before the draft. They got about a little over a month to do so. So we'll see. We'll give you guys an update on any new names that come in from the Bulls staff. Now let's talk about the basketball that's still going on the court. Playoff recap for this week. You got a couple of potential clinchers. Game 6 this night. Both these games are on Prime Video. Cleveland with a great performance by James Harden, 30 points in Game 5 on Wednesday. Yeah. And now Cleveland's in the driver's seat after coming back against Detroit. In Detroit, they now have the momentum. They're in the driver's seat as they try to wrap it up tonight.
Yeah, we talked about the Detroit Pistons over the last 2 years. Many people, including us, said that they should have won that series last year against the Knicks. One of the reasons why they didn't get it done last year is because they failed to close out games down the stretch. You saw that example pop up once again for the Motor City men in that fourth quarter on Wednesday in Game 5. You mentioned James Harden took over there. Spider, Donovan Mitchell had some big shots in overtime. My guy Jared Allen stepped up, 16 points, 10 rebounds. Evan Mobley, 2 games in a row. He's getting there. He's getting there. He had 19 points and 8 rebounds and 8 assists, a couple away from those categories of becoming a triple double. But for the Detroit Pistons, we talked about them being one of the surprise tier. You have Cade Cunningham. Tobias Harris is having a nice playoff run, but when you're such a young team like Detroit, you got to learn how to close out games, because if you don't, the scenario that we saw the other night in Game 5 will take place. And I don't know if this team will recover. We'll find out tonight, obviously. But Cleveland is still in Game 5 in overtime the way they did. They have the momentum being at home tonight. So let's see if they can put the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, Jalen Duran needs to step up for Detroit. He's MIA the last couple of games. Actually, this whole playoffs, but particularly the last couple of games for Detroit.
Thompson too.
Yeah. So both will need to have real great performances tonight if they want to force a Game 7. Now, as far as San Antonio and Minnesota is concerned, we all kind of figured that San Antonio, they're a totally different team at home. Minnesota, that Target Center crowd's going to be loud and boisterous. Look, Anthony Edwards got to do his thing, but other guys got to step up too from Minnesota. Nas, Reed, Io, Rudy Gobert, Julius Randle, especially. I'm talking to you, mister. You're going to have one of your best playoff games of your career if they want to force Game 7. I know it's going to be a tough task against Wemby, especially when he's playing well. He had 27 points, 12 boards in that game, that pivotal Game 5 on Tuesday. So, but yeah, I think if you're Minnesota, your guys have to play their best tonight.
Yeah, Minnesota didn't shoot the ball well at all, 39% overall, 27% from 3. And from the, like I said, the 3-point line, 9 of 33, that's not going to get it done. I think, and they gave up 68 points in the paint. I know a lot of that came in garbage time, but I want to ask you this, LaKeena. Do you think that that fatigue and reality is starting to set in for this Minnesota Timberwolves squad? Because you mentioned Julius Randle didn't step up the last couple of games, and you had to have young guys like Terrence Shannon Jr. and some of the other guys, and the old Mike Conley had to play some minutes that he didn't expect to play in the playoffs this year. You think that the fatigue is starting to set in, or do you think they'll have just a little bit more juice because they're at home tonight? Because I think you could say it's a little bit, but I think he's been fatigued these last a couple of games. Of course, Victor Wembanyama was not fined or suspended for that elbow in Game 4, but I think fatigue is finally start to set in for the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Yeah, the only good thing is that they haven't played since Tuesday, so they've had a couple of days off to kind of rest up. And look, I think Chris Mitchell will have his guys ready for tonight. And look, I mean, like I said, all those guys I mentioned got to step up. Now, like they're only playing 8 guys right now in Minnesota. So look, the fact that they even stole a game in San Antonio, I think is a win of itself. But I think if you're Anthony Edwards, you want to try to at least make them earn it. Try to beat San Antonio at home, and then try to make it force Game 7, make them win it at home. So we'll see what happens tonight in both these games.
Yeah, and both these Game 6s can be seen on Amazon Prime starting at 6 p.m. Tipping off versus Pistons at Cleveland in Game 6 of that Eastern Conference Series, followed by the Spurs at the Timberwolves from the Target Center. That's at 8:30 in Game 6 of that series. Both these games can be seen on Amazon Prime. And your schedule for the weekend, no playoff games tomorrow. Your schedule for Sunday to be determined. If it goes to a Game 7, the Spurs and the Timberwolves can be seen on NBC. And if this game this series between Cleveland and Detroit goes to Game 7, Game 7 can be seen on Amazon Prime. So that's your schedule for the playoffs for this upcoming weekend. No games tomorrow, but 2 potential Game 7s on Sunday. We'll see what happens, but let's see what happens tonight. As both games can be seen on Amazon Prime with these Game 6s on the line.
You listen to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. LaKeena McGee, Sidney Brown with you as we do that hockey. And the one series that's still to be determined, Montreal got a pivotal game yesterday in a pivotal Game 5. They were actually down 2-1 going into the first period. but it was all pretty much all it was all Montreal. After that, they scored 4 unanswered goals as they take a 3-2 lead against Buffalo, 6-3. Josh Anderson got that pivotal tie game, and of course, it was all Montreal after that. And like I said, we know Montreal likes to play. Most of these teams like to play fast, so I would say if you had the over on this one, you had a nice night last night. But yeah, Montreal kind of imposed their will after that slow start.
Yeah, as we talk about all the time on the show, especially during the Stanley Cup playoffs, it's the intangibles that gets it done for most winning teams. And with the power play, the Buffalo Sabres were 0 for 2, Montreal 2 for 2. In the block shots department, plus 14 advantage for Montreal, 25-11. And in giveaways, Montreal 16, Buffalo 11. In the hits department, yes, Buffalo was a +3 there, but once the Montreal took the lead at 3-2, you can see all the air going out of that Buffalo bench. So momentum is a huge thing, especially in the Stanley Cup playoffs. It was the little things for Montreal after they mentioned they came back from the 2-0 lead early. They got it done. Buffalo just did not want any part of Montreal after that. It's been a back and forth series. I wouldn't be surprised if this series went 7. It's going to be important how Buffalo responds mentally and emotionally in this next game, because if they don't, obviously their season is over.
Yeah, Jacob Dubas had after giving up those 3 goals, had 33 saves. So yeah, that was anticipating there. They got a goalie problem out there in Buffalo. Of course, Luukkonen gave up those 5 goals. Alcyon did come in and gave up a goal himself. So they're gonna be interested to see what happens on goal tomorrow as the Habs try to finish up this series. But look, this has been a really good series with a lot of offense. We knew it was going to be a lot of offense, and it hasn't disappointed there. So we'll see if Montreal can clinch it tomorrow. Now, the other game, which ended up being a clincher, Vegas. It was all Vegas as they finish up Anaheim 5-1. It'll be Vegas against Colorado. I think a lot. If you've been following hockey all season, all those 2 are the best teams in the Western Conference. So you got the dream matchup that you wanted there. As far as Vegas is concerned, Mitch Marner, he had a goal and an assist. It was Pavel Dufeviev. He had 2 goals there as well. And also their goalie had his best showing, Carter Hart. He had 31 saves. Anaheim tried to those fast, but Hart stood on his head, if you will, and they were able to finish up that series to Vegas.
Yeah, Vegas showed themselves who they truly were in the last 2 games of this series. First of all, shout out to head coach Joel Quenneville in Anaheim. Great year, great run in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Obviously, it didn't finish the way they wanted, but that's the team that's going to be record in the rest of the conference for years to come with that young talent. You saw it on display in these playoffs, so watch out for Anaheim next year. I'm not saying they're going to win the whole thing, anything like that, but the type of coach that Joel Quenneville is, those young players on that team is going to benefit from them going forward. So watch out for Anaheim next year. But the other series, they won the face-off from Anaheim in Game 6, 34-30. They were 1 for 2 on the power play, and with they forced 20 giveaways from Anaheim. Those young Ducks just constantly turn the puck over. When you turn the puck over and give the other teams the man advantage, is going to cost you, and that's what happened in this series. Now, I know we run out of time, but quickly with the Anaheim Colorado Western Conference Finals, I'm predicting it right now. This series is going 7. I know that Vegas is a balanced team, but you don't want to get into a track meet with Colorado. You don't, because if you do, you're going to be in trouble. So this is going to be a hard-fought series. Whoever makes the best adjustments from game to game is going to win this series. This series is going 7, and I'm going with Colorado.
Well, I'll say
I think this is going to be the toughest test yet. I know what they did the other night in Game 5 to close out Minnesota, which gave them a fight as well. But Vegas is going to be tougher. So if I had to make a prediction in this Western Final, I'm going with Colorado in 7.
Well, I'm holding out on my prediction because they don't play till Wednesday, so I'm going to hold out till Monday when we really get into the meat of the series. So, but yeah, it is going to go 7, I think. So it should be a fun series when that starts on Wednesday. Now, as far as this series, North Carolina has been waiting, so hopefully they don't have to wait too long as we schedule Buffalo and Montreal game 6. We'll see if Montreal can finish up that series. The primetime treatment, it'll be at 7 o'clock on ABC, and if necessary, game 7 will be on Monday on ESPN. So again, I think if you're Carolina, I think I'm sure Rob Brindamore wants his guys back on the ice. I know they've been fine with the rest and stuff. I know they want to get back into it. So whatever happens, but yeah, we'll see what happens tomorrow. We'll see if Montreal can finish up the Sabres.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid LaKeena here with you. Breaking news for the Chicago White Sox, LaKeena, in their promotion department. And I know the Crosstown Classic starts tonight, but the White Sox have added, I believe, 6 new promotions, which was announced about a half hour ago. I'll tell you about them now. They added 3 new dates for bobbleheads. The first one will take place against the Oakland Athletics on Sunday, July the 12th. It's the Late Night with Chuck and Ozzy bobblehead. Go to whitesox.com to see the pictures of it. I'm looking at it right now via my email. It looks like it looks cool. It looks cute. So Sunday, July 12th against the Oakland Athletics. The Late Night with Chuck and Ozzy Dow. Sunday, August 9th against the Cleveland Guardians. Shoeless Joe Jackson will get his bobblehead. I know some people say he should be in the Hall of Fame. We'll get into that discussion on another day. That's on Sunday, August 9th. Then Sunday, July 26th, will get his long bobblehead. So a lot of people are going to be hanging around the gates early for that one, including yours truly. So Sunday, July 26th against the Houston Astros, or Sean Sierra would say the Trastros. Munataka Murakami will get his long bobblehead for this season. And a couple more promotional dates to pass along to you guys. Sunday, September 6th against Minnesota, the Childhood Cancer Awareness Day hat. They did it last year. They'll do it again this year. August 8th, Ozzie Guillen retirement night. Fans will receive an Ozzie Guillen replica jersey. So be on the lookout for that. And a Galaxy Storm post-game acoustic set will be on September 19th. So those are new promotional dates for the White Sox as the season continues.
Yeah, it should be a good. I think there's going to be a lot of anticipation for those bobblehead nights, especially if the team keeps playing well. It's the Second City Sports on Sports Chicago. LaKeena McGee sitting around with you to continue our sports potpourri segment. Your PGA Championship update. They're playing out just outside Philadelphia. And been a tough go at it for some of the top players, but not all, the top players have had, some issues with it. As I get the score of the scoreboard here, let's see, I got the scoreboard here coming up here. Alex Smalley and Aldrich Poingater, he's from South Africa. Smalley's from here in the U.S. They're both your leaders at 4 under right now. Chris Gutterup had a nice showing, 65. To get within distance at 3 under. Former Masters champ Hideki Matsuyama has 67. He moves up to -3. Jason Day right there within striking distance. Steven Yeager from Germany. Cam Young right there as well. Also Justin Thomas, a former champion. Also Scotty Scheffler as well. Ricky Fowler, the top 15. And Koepka in the top 15 as well. So they're on the course. So we'll see if those two can get back into it. Jordan Spieth, who this is actually the only major he doesn't have. He's tied for 15 as well as John Rahm. The other Dustin Johnson at +2. Matt Fitzpatrick, he struggled. He's had his struggles yesterday and today. +2. So, but he is going to make the cut, as well as former PGA champ Patrick Harrington, Justin Rose. He had his struggles, but he's also going to make the cut. Some of the guys that won't make the cut. Bryson DeChambeau, he didn't have a good. If you saw that ball that he hit on the first hole yesterday, that kind of described his day. So he's in the fourth course right now. The cut line, I believe, is at +3, and him and guys like Tommy Fleetwood as well could miss the cut as well. But yeah, so the PGA Tour, that course, I know some guys said that course is very tough. So it's definitely testing the will of the players and it probably will do the same this weekend.
Yeah, quickly, I was going to ask you, especially with some of the Americans you mentioned about Scotty Scheffler, Justin Thomas, and of course Andrew Novak. Out of those names, or maybe one that you haven't mentioned yet, which one of those names that could surprisingly make a run? We come back here on Monday and say, I didn't expect this guy to make that surprising run, at least get to the final round. who are the one of those unsung heroes, especially with the Americans that can possibly make the run that people are not talking about right now?
Yeah, I think Novak could definitely be. I think he's been right there in the last few tournaments, so he could probably be a guy that can make a run. We know Scheffler and Thomas. They both won these. That course though has definitely been a good equalizer. Xander Schauffele, who actually won a couple of years ago there, so yeah, he could probably make a run. He's in the top 15 right now, tied for 15th right now at -1, so he could probably have to make a run. So yeah, I could see either one of those three make a run. It could be one of the other guys that haven't talked about, but yeah, it should be a good one out there in the weekend. And if you're CBS, I think you want it to be kind of like one of the top guys to be near the top to try to see if you can get those big numbers. You got big numbers for the Masters, so hopefully you can get the same thing here for the PGA Championship.
Yeah, and like I always say, the average, not average, but average viewers like yours, surely, or your casual viewers. Of course, we know that Tiger Woods is going through his situation. That's neither here or there, but and we're always looking for gotta have the names to sell the product. But if you have no name guys that, especially young guys that come out, they come out of nowhere and make their mark and they're marketable to America, I think people like yours surely will grab onto those unsung players that don't get the recognition that they deserve or are just starting out. So, like I said, big tournaments like this are very important, especially for those guys trying to make their mark.
Yes, like I say, you can watch the early rounds are going on right now on ESPN, but CBS will take over the coverage this weekend for Saturday and Sunday just outside Philadelphia. So it should be a fun one.
All right, you listen to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid LaKeena here with you as we wind down our show for today and for the week. LaKeena, I know we still have some time left. We'll get to our tribute to the late great Charlie Neal coming up in just a second, but I know you have some other sports media nuggets as well. Please share with the class.
Yeah, the Preakness is going to be going on tomorrow, I should say. And yeah, of course, Golden Tempo, he's out. So it's wide open. So you won't get a Triple Crown winner this year. I guess you could say some of the favorites, Chip Honcho, Iron Honor, also Napoleon Solo, Incredibolt. They'll see what happens with that one. Like I said, there won't be a Triple Crown winner, so I want to see what the ratings are going to be for this. But yeah, it should be a fun one. Of course, you can watch that on NBC and also streaming on Peacock at 3:00 Chicago time. Of course, your previous coverage starts at noon on CNBC. But yeah, so should be a fun one out there. Yeah, I think the previous it should be still. Like I said, there won't be a Triple Crown winner, won't be a, but it should be a good one out there in Baltimore, Maryland. And as far as going back into the schedule, NFL scheduling thing, this is from our friends at our Awful Announcing. Some are saying that with all the stuff we just talked about, that you wonder people wondering, is it starting to kill the Sunday tradition of Sunday afternoon football with all the prime time games? All the games are going to be streaming. You wonder, especially with the late in the season games that's going to be streaming on Netflix and Prime and such. So you wonder, like some people say, that is it starting to be the decline of the Sunday afternoon games?
I think so to an extent, and this goes back to 2020. I was thinking about this the last couple of days. Remember when the NBA restarted in the pandemic down there in Orlando in the bubble? They did this tournament style type games before the actual playoffs. Look what we have now. We have the play-in tournament for the 7th through 10th. The NFL, I think we were actually live on this show before we came to Sports Zone Chicago. I think during that COVID year, a couple of games were moved from Sunday to Monday, and there's one that was played on Wednesday. I remember there's a couple that was played on Tuesday. Now that what you're seeing now, about 5-6 years later, you're seeing the NFL trying to play on every day. So things that were happening 5-6 years ago during the pandemic is all starting to come into light now. Baseball, the same thing. That you had this wild card series and that was inserted in the last minute because there were no fans. Look what we have now, the wild card series, best 2 out of 3 at an additional round in the playoffs. So things that we're starting to see that we saw in 2020, they all start coming to light now. And as we said as well, sports is not just sports anymore. It's also a TV shows as well. So we're all starting to see those elements now starting to come into play. The more money that can be made off of stuff like this, trends like this will still continue.
Going to be very interesting to see what goes on there. It looks like Ian Rappaport is staying with ESPN. It looks like it's all but official. So there were some people wondering, like, okay, with now ESPN a part of the NFL Network, only a part of it. Some people are wondering that could Rappaport be on his way out? Looks like that's not going to be the case. So at least, well, I don't know if they're going to be. I don't know if he and Al Schefter is going to be doing podcasts together anytime soon. But at least they'll be under the same umbrella.
Yeah, like we said before, people want to talk about, ESPN owns 10% of this, NFL Network owns 80% of this. The numbers doesn't matter; they're in partnership now. So the more the quality of analysts and insights that you have for a network, the better. So, like I said, Ian Rappaport has been breaking stories for years, and he's up there with the Schefters and Jay Glazers and everybody else. So it's great that ESPN/NFL Network has kept him around. It's still continuing to keep him around.
Yeah, that's actually pretty cool there. Like you said, there's nothing wrong with having you can't have too many insiders, so it's always good to kind of have the extra person there to kind of like help out. So yeah, I'm glad that Rap is going to be around there. Now, interesting story going back to the PGA Championship. Now, Jim Nantz actually shared a story with veteran CBS 3 Philadelphia's UK Washington years ago. He actually, I'm talking about Nance, was actually in the running to be part of the weekend sports anchor over there, and it was between him and I guess another guy. He didn't get the job. UK Washington came in, and Mr. Washington, of course, we saw what happened after that. Of course, Nance is still a very very popular and very still one of the all-time greats in sportscasting. I think Mr. Washington is still, I think he's doing news now. He's kind of all of its news, but he is still over at CBS 3. They did a little bit of an interview there. Go to CBS 3's YouTube channel if you guys want to check that out. Now, Howard Eskin, a veteran sportscaster and writer, to his credit, actually added some context to this. He said, because he was there at the time, he was the anchor there at that time, and he said that it was another guy. UK didn't come on till later, but he did ask. It was some of the stuff was screwed, but he had a bit more context to it, to his credit. So he had some context to that one. But yeah, but it's still a small world. And look, people always say things were wrong for a reason. So look, both men ended up doing just fine.
Yeah, like I said, fate. Like I said, we can't control fate. It happens. It's life. It could go. It goes both ways. It could go for you in the wrong way. It can go for you in the correct way. So, things happen for a reason. We may not understand it at the time. And those of you who believe in religion or religion or spiritual, things guide you into a direction that you don't understand at the time. And then once you accomplish your goals, everybody say, hey, that whatever I thought I was chasing, that particular situation wasn't meant for me. We don't recognize it till like it happens to all of us. So this is just another example of that. So like you said, all men have come out of this situation and not just in good spirits, but respectable in their careers.
Yeah, so like I said, I think that this is one of those times it was a win-win for everybody, for all involved. So love that. Didn't know that story, so I'm glad they shared it. Pretty cool connection, synergy, I guess, if you will. There. Now, anything else said before we go to this tribute to Mr. Neal?
Let's start the tribute.
All right, now Charlie Neal, of course, if you guys don't know, he was a pioneer of modern HBCU sportscasting. He was a lead voice for HBCUs, not only in football, but also in men's basketball as well. Died on Wednesday following an illness. He was born in 1945 in October. For more than 4 decades, he was the press box, going to HBCUs and covering the games, which it wasn't fashionable, if you will, to do that. And very underrated, of course. If BET, well, back in those days, the early days of BET, he called a lot of those HBCU football and men's basketball games for not just for BET. He did it for since from like network inception 1980 all the way to 2004. He also did it for ESPNU. He kind of started that tradition of more HBCU games being shown nationally in a bigger platform. He was also voice of Grambling states, Eddie Robinson breaking Bear Bryant's record wins. And of course, remember the Bayou Classic when it aired on BET before NBC took over.
Yes,
in the late '90s, he was a voice of that. He also did CIA tourists, which is a HBCU's Division III version of those schools, and he also be on TNT at one point. He did MEAC tournaments and such. So yeah, just a great career, a very pioneering career, and he was the one that he had to fight to get those HBCU schools showcased nationally, and I will forever commend him for that. He should be commended for that.
Yeah, same here, because we talked about, and we did this last year for Old School TV Monday, A Different World created by Bill Cosby. Even though Hillman College was a fictional college, it was portraying black colleges, historically black colleges, universities. You saw what it did for our generation. Even though both of us did not go to HBCU, you saw what it did for our generation as far as thinking about going to college and black colleges in particular. You mentioned about Mr. Neal. He did the same thing as far as getting those games shown on. Remember, cable TV back in those days was just growing, and it was something new. Remember, BT was only on like in a limited markets back in the early years, of course, and expanded after 1985 with the music and other programming. But I remember seeing Charlie Neal, me personally, when I was 7 years old. Remember, he contributed to the RIP to the NBA on TNT and the TBS back in those days. But he we talk about the late great Craig Sager from Chicago and some of the other broadcasters that we know about in our time. Charlie Neal's right up there. You talk about him being a trailblazer during those games of the weekend. Of course, like you, as we talked about BET throughout the years. At that time, BET was a sense of pride for you in a positive way to watch that. Whenever, of course, when Bob Johnson sold it, it's been bad ever since PR wise. But CBS, NBC, ABC, they weren't interested in those days because even though some of the best players that came out of HBCUs, you didn't hear about them until they got drafted, like the late great Walter Payton, Jerry Rice, I forget the defensive back from Pittsburgh that played in the 70s. His name will come back to me, or someone will put it in the chat. He came out of HBCUs, and Jackie Slater. We can go down the road because remember, HBCUs were until the was segregated, especially in the South. But what Charlie Neal did was he brought those games to air. People were watching. Cable television was expanding. I remember watching some of those back in the day because I mean, I'm not the biggest college football fan, but watching some of those, you got to learn players like the late great Steve Airman there before he hit the national scene at the '95 Heisman Trophy Awards, and still ESPN didn't know who he was until he got to that ceremony. So moments like that were important. I think it still should be bigger now, especially when we have social media. But you need a trailblazer. Mr. Charlie Neal did that. Salute to him.
Yeah, remember that was Mel Blount who you're thinking of. He played at Southern.
Yes.
Yeah, he was an all SWAC, and I think he was an all third team All American as well there. But yeah, I think he was definitely I think when BET stepped away from the sports, which is I thought was a big mistake. I still say it was a big mistake.
Me too.
But that's that's neither here nor there. But yeah, Neal went to ESPNU, and shout out to him for now you're seeing HBCUs being showcased once a week. You're seeing them on YouTube. You're seeing these folks being shown on the national stage. And I think, look, it was, like I said, it wasn't fashionable to do that back then. And I think I think ABC did do the Bayou Classic, I think once, back in the 70s, but it didn't rate very well. That's why they didn't do it anymore for many years. That's why when BET took over back in the mid 80s, they started showcasing that. So, but I think if you watch it, I guess they'll come. And Charlie Neal was a big part of that. So he should be, like I said, he should be commended for bringing HBCU sports to the forefront. So, I think that he's definitely the kind of guy that, should always be remembered. And look, I mean, we would not know some of those guys you mentioned have not been for Mr. Neal. So he's one of those guys that will definitely should be in lore, not just in HBCU, but also in all of mainstream college sports.
Yes, and his efforts in showcasing those games, and showcasing the schools in particular, will live on forever. It will never be forgotten. So for all of us here at Sports Zone Chicago and Second City Sports, we salute Mr. Charlie Neal.
All right, you can follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter X or Keena McGee on the IG.
You can follow your Shirley Sidney Brown on the Twitter X in the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Be sure to catch Second City Sports live in living color every Monday, every Friday from 12:15 to 2:15. City Sports live in living color every Monday, every Friday from 12:15 to 2:15 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
Now, if you missed our interview, if you missed our our tribute to Charlie Neal just now, our NFL picks when we're back in season without any predictions, an interview, or anything else for that matter, don't worry. You can catch the Sports Zone Chicago's on replays anytime, anywhere on Sports Zone Chicago's YouTube channels. It's all right there for you. You can catch replays of our show, Sean Sierra Sports, the Smoke Fuzz. They're gonna have a lot to say about the Bears schedule, as well as the Bulls' recent front office hires tomorrow. So yeah, you can catch the replays anytime, anywhere on Sports Chicago's YouTube channels.
And we will provide a quick announcement for those of you that are coming to the game tomorrow, Saturday's game tomorrow between the Cubs and the Sox. Lot B as in boy, Whiskey and Comiskey tailgate. Look for the Chicago Sports Bum flag. Yours surely will be there. Couple of possible celebrities will be there tomorrow. Most of the family of White Sox Twitter will be there before Game 2 of the Cubs-Sox series. That will be taking place at 6:10 p.m. Weather's supposed to be great. Tailgate starts at 3 p.m. tomorrow on the south side. Lot B and some boy. Look for the Chicago Sports Bum flag. Come one, call all. Bring good vibes. We'll have a great time.
And they'll say, be nice, everybody. Like I said,
yes.
I know it can get a little contentious between, especially since both teams are over 500 for right now. I would implore folks to just be good to each other. Enjoy the Crosstown Classic. Enjoy the NBA and Stanley Cup playoffs. You got the WNBA. Right now, of course, the Sky will try to go for 3-0, I should say. I think they got a game tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken, or tonight. Yeah, they got a game tonight against Phoenix, so you can catch that game at 9:00 on Ion. So if you guys want to check that out, you can. Also, the Preakness, the PGA Championship, and so much more. Soccer's finishing up their seasons, college baseball, I should say, and also softball. So a lot of great sports happening, a busy sports time of year right now, and just enjoy it and be safe out there and be good to each other. This has been Second City Sports on Sports Chicago. We'll see you guys on Monday.
Go Sox! Holla!